Do you remember that feeling you felt when you realized you were talking to Dave Ramsey?
Yeah, kind of.
That is how I feel right now. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Brad. Welcome back. I make videos with tips and motivation on how to get out of debt, how to stay positive, and just how to make your life overall more fulfilling. This Tuesday talk, guys, incredible. I really do get more and more excited as the weeks go on, mostly because I have my own personal attachments to each person. It's not about their subscriber count or how long they've been around. They each contribute a different part of my journey, and they've all helped me in a different sort of way. And Sarah from Go Budget Girl is no exception. She does not need an introduction. Everybody knows who she is. I definitely will not get her one subscriber, but I just wanted to reiterate how incredible it was for me to get down and talk with her. She had some amazing insights that I could never even imagine. Stick through to the end. Her talk about how she invests and what she was thinking while she invests and investment videos and things like, oh man, mind-blowing stuff, a perspective that I've never seen before. Sarah, thank you so much for spending time with me. I know you're a very, very busy person, and I could not be more humbled to sit and talk with you. I hope everyone enjoys this talk with Sarah from Go Budget Girl. Guys, look who's over there. Look how it is. Look how it is. I feel like I can only act so excited, but every week I'm so excited, and it has nothing to do with like size, but I feel like everybody in the Tuesday talk so far like holds like a certain emotional place in my heart for different reasons. And like yours for me is the most epic Dave debt-free scream I've ever seen. And I didn't even, I saw that.
Really? Have you seen Troy's?
Yes.
Okay, it was like, his has like 200,000 views. Like,
but like I said, for me, I'm not motivated by numbers. I'm motivated by a couple things that I definitely want to like bring up and ask you about that talk and just general things going on. And that's it. But thank you so much. I mean, this is Monday night. It's coming out tonight. We're getting in this last minute. People don't know you were sick, then I was sick, and we've been trying to plan this for weeks, and it's finally come to.
It almost came out before Christmas, but
it's finally come to fruition, and I'm so pumped. All right, anyway, the basics first. So you are, in some people's opinion, like a mega star in the Dave community, the debt-free community, the frugal community, everywhere. You just passed, 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. You have over 4 million views, over almost 600 videos, like megastar. And I just want to say, for anybody that's living under a rock that doesn't quite know who you are, still very humble and quiet to the bone, and also doing great on Instagram. Which came first for you? It was YouTube, right? Back in 2014?
It was definitely YouTube. I think it might have been when I hit like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube or something. People were like, getting Insta. And I was like, fine, but I'm not going to like it. And now I'm like, Insta! My boyfriend thinks I'm addicted. He'll be like, will you get off of that thing? Because I'm just on it all the time. I'm like, hashtag debt-free community, like. So,
I'm the same way. Do you like Insta more than YouTube, or is it just kind of like they serve different purposes for you?
Oh, I feel like they serve incredibly different purposes in my life. Like on YouTube, it feels more like story, and on Insta, it's more like a highlight reel for me. So I like to, it's like a quick tips type thing, because especially in videos, I do not tend to be succinct, I think is the word. The video I uploaded today was like 17 minutes long, and I was editing, and I was like, oh, I should edit out this section. I'm like, nah, I think I'm kind of funny. I'll leave it in. So, I mean, I love, like, Lydia. She does the best, like, short poppy videos. Like, her Money Monday videos are, like, 5 minutes. I'm like, one day I'll be able to plan my thoughts well enough that I can just, like, punch it out. But now I just, like, go on a tangent on YouTube. And on Instagram, I hate typing on my phone. So I'm like, all right, we got to make this, like, one tip and now and fast, and let's do it. And I feel like that's the place for that. And then YouTube's more the place for like long-winded explanations that cater to every demographic and include every like little, but my situation is this. And I'm like, all right, I'll get to you. Give me a sec.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love Insta for different reasons than, oh, hey. I know my guy's gonna be scratching at the door too, but hey, oh God, so cute. Hello, buddy. Big animal lover here. So,
she heard me like being silly, so she tends to like run in whenever I'm doing that.
Very nice. Silly's fine. Are you a scheduled person on YouTube, or you kind of just make a video and it comes out?
I've been on YouTube for 5 years, so I've been pretty much everything. I've had videos. I was doing 5 a week at one point, and so many people want me to get back to that, but I was living in Hicksville, Arkansas. No offense to Arkansas, but I had literally nothing to do other than go home every single night and shoot videos until the police scanner went off, because I was a newspaper editor and that was my job. So I was in like the end of my debt journey, so I was like really hustling for like money and views, and I just had so much content to do. And I had at one point like 10 videos pre-scheduled out for like a couple of months, where like the next 2 weeks worth of videos, 5 a week, were like already uploaded, edited, etc. And now I edited today's video on my lunch break.
It's me.
But I got it out.
And you're in Texas now, and for somebody far away, like nearest major city to you, where are you in Texas?
I'm about halfway between Austin and Houston in College Station, Texas.
Okay.
So it's about an hour and a half each way, and about 3 hours south of Dallas, home of Texas A&M.
Yeah, you guys love your Southern football down there. It doesn't really mean that much to me.
Oh, it means nothing to me. I don't care about football at all. I went to Mississippi University for Women, which only recently had any sports teams at all, and did not when I was there. So whoever.
No, that's great. The one thing, if I can talk about your journey a little bit, that I've always wanted to ask you, is the difference between when you started. Like, you posted something epic maybe like 2-3 weeks ago in reference to like the need, or like how the slow transition of how sometimes things can get a bit competitive. And I see it too myself, but I mean, you see it from an outside perspective because you've been around so much longer. And I think one of the things I value the most about you is you're not one of those people that needed to preach that you had hundreds and $1,000s worth of debt. You were a regular person that had debt of whatever amount that was, and you had a small shovel to go with. But I feel like when you did it, it was all about like working hard, getting it done, and staying disciplined. Can you kind of like sum up like that video and that thought process of what you were saying when you were saying like people are rushing to like, I did it the fastest, I paid off the most debt? Do you still feel like that's happening?
Yeah, and the thing is I've been around. When I started, the only people who were talking about money kind of in this circle, especially like personal finance on YouTube, were His and Her Money, Dead is Dumb, and Lydia Sin was pretty new at that time. And those were the only people. And I don't know if you know enough about those guys, I'm sure you do, but all 3 of those people are like couples with kids. And I am still not that 5 years later. So I don't think any of them shared their income at the time, and I still don't believe they do. But I was really inspired by them. This is not dragging on them at all. I saw them, and I saw Dead is Dumb saying like, we made another payment, we're doing this to get out of debt. And I was inspired by them, but there was literally no one that I could find. And I Googled crazily that was low income, single, any of my situations. So there wasn't at that time really a competitive market for me, anyone to like compare my journey to.
Right.
I guess shortly after I came on and when I started gaining some traction, the channel Gazelle Intense, which is now Dad on Duty, started. But even then, and we became great friends, but they had an extremely high income and they lived in a much higher cost area, and they had such a huge amount of debt. And so on that bar, I was like, well, I'm not comparing myself to you either. I'm just over here doing my own little thing. And, and I was only accountable to myself. Now, the community has grown so much, and that is the most wonderful thing in the world. The fact that I could spend literally years on Instagram on like the hashtag debt-free community thing and just never run out of posts is the coolest thing ever, because I used to yearn for that kind of content. But what has kind of come along with that is as the community's grown and as more people have shared their journeys, more people have felt like they needed to tell other people how to live their journeys. So now I get this to a small amount just because I've always put my numbers out there, but it's always been like a personal criticism of you shouldn't be in journalism, you're not making enough money, you know, you're super for doing this, etc. You know, you shouldn't have spent money on this when you could have put that at your loans, that kind of thing. But because I was really frontward facing with my budgets and everything like that, and you could see exactly what I was spending on, there wasn't a lot to criticize, but I was also making an active choice to live like as low as possible. Like I was giving myself $10 a week personal money, and that included things like shampoo and razors. So there wasn't a lot to criticize. And that was a personal choice, and it was what I called going scorched earth. Mm-hmm. And I would never judge anyone for choosing not to do that, because I was single. I was living alone in a town where there weren't a lot of people. There wasn't anything to do. But I would not have lived that way had I had like some young kids and been like, no, you can't be in the school play because I can't afford the costume, kind of thing. So like with every single person's journey, there are going to be things that they value and things that they need to spend money on. And I see a lot of people criticizing the choices, whereas they're not going as scorched earth as maybe I did. And anytime I see that, I go, no. Like, their choices affect no one but you. Like, take inspiration from it. Great. Right. Like, okay, they've managed to improve in this way, because frugality is a muscle. I'm getting off on a different tangent here. But I didn't start putting $1,500 a month to my debt. I started barely making the minimum payment. I was bringing home less than $1,500 a month. I had to every single week, every single month, learn more ways to save, more ways to side hustle, more ways to get better at this, to drag myself out of it. You can't compare what I was doing at the end of year 4 to someone's day 1. The fact that they managed to like make a dupe of like Taco Bell quesadillas or something at home is freaking amazing, because that means they just save money. Right. Don't poo on them because they didn't just eat the rice and beans. So
you're saying it's more of it's not so much a competition thing. It's just like everyone's a professional now. Everyone's a professional.
And it's even gotten to the point where sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough. Right. And that might seem weird, but often I'm like, oh, they're doing so much better than me on this. Like, oh, I feel so behind, but it shouldn't be that way. And that shouldn't be the culture that we're cultivating here, because this is our house. Mm-hmm. This is the debt-free community is ours. We built it. We are here to encourage each other and to win with money. And that should be the culture here. And when we see people who are maybe getting a little too competitive, and I get it, I'm a competitive person, we need to kind of redirect people that are kind of getting off course. And we also just need to block the trolls, because I'm still about that.
Is there a line between like criticizing somebody and also trying to like steer them in the right direction? As far as like, let me give you an example. Like, there are many people that aren't the Dave purists, right? That don't follow Dave to a T, and they're doing their own thing. Is there a place for us to be like, don't try and skate the rules, just do your own thing? Or should we as a community just continue just to maybe let people learn the hard way? Where does advice and being a backseat driver, where's that line to you?
I think generally you can tell where a person's coming from with their comments, and unfortunately it's not always face to face like we are right now. Often you read a comment, and I've misread comments that people have made on my YouTube before, and I've messaged them and been like, listen, this was really rude and I don't appreciate it. And they've been like, wait, I didn't mean that, or the English was their second language. And they were like, you have to have a little grace there. But as far as course correcting people who might not be on the same plan as you, first you have to remember, when criticizing what they're doing, that their situation doesn't affect you.
Right.
If they're trying to tell other people that are in your community some really bad info, I would say, listen, this isn't the way that a lot of us do it, and that's because of this. And, cite Dave or whatever and say, if you want to do that for your finances, cool, and I hope it works for you, let us know, come back to it, but, maybe don't advise other people to do that.
Yeah, the position I've taken is I kind of just like play devil's advocate, but I kind of wait for people to come to me and approach me with questions. Like if they think that they're going off their own plan or going off course and they say, hey Brad, I heard maybe I should do this, then I give my honest opinion, but I never go out trying to give advice. I try and present information and then allow people with that information to make whatever they think is the right decision.
My entire channel has come from my personal perspective. And just as I hope that people will respect my opinion, managing my life, essentially, these are the reasons that I chose to do this thing. Maybe you could do something similar and it would work for you. Everything that I've done on this channel was, this is how I'm getting out of debt. This is how I'm building wealth. This is how I've figured out how to solve my problems. And I'm not ever going to condemn someone for choosing to do it differently for their own very valid set of reasons. But
I still feel like, and like I said, there is still a lot of people, and you said on your debt-free screen, there's a lot of people out there rooting for you. And there's a lot of people out there rooting for me and for everybody else. And sometimes, like, one of the messages that I'm trying to show right now is also tying in just positivity. And it's so easy, I think, to find the negatives, but with that contentment feel, like when you can figure out a way to skip through those bad negative comments and really focus on the people that are really seeking help and that you're really impacting, that for me has been that's been the best part about YouTube. I know that in your screen you talked about people reaching out to you and saying that, they heard about Dave through you. Like, I think those days are done for people like me, so I'm glad you got to embrace that. But
I actually still feel a little self-conscious about saying that, because I was like, he doesn't need my help. But I get that comment a lot, that they were, and it's always about finding someone in the universe that you can relate to. And, I guess some people who are reaching out just found me, this random girl on YouTube, talking about getting out of debt. And maybe my face was a little bit more clickable at that time. They were like, oh, she looks like someone I could have coffee with, or she looks like, a sister or a friend or something like that. And then I was able to send them to him. And I'm honored that I got to do that.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to ask you about which I think is an important topic for people to know about, was you talked about the danger of deferring your loans and how people think that that's a safety blanket for them, but they don't realize that interest is going to grow while you're in deferred. So like, I think that was like the value that I take away, like that was something that you said that was incredible, that I think people don't really realize, like that danger of deferment. And you were an example of that happened to you, right?
Yeah, when I graduated, I had $27,000 of student loans. And then I got a job at a local newspaper a few months later, and I was kind of like ignoring the envelopes. Like, it was a lot of them coming in, and I was like, I'm just kind of scared about this whole money situation. And then I called up the deferment thing, and they were like, oh, you don't make enough money to pay on these anyway. And I'm like, okay. And then, 2 years later, it's $33,000.
Right.
And I had to deal with it. Now, because I ended up working towards paying that off while I was at the same salary I was the 2 years prior, different job, same salary, I could have been paying on those loans. But past Sarah was not willing to face her financial problems. And it's kind of like a I can't see you, I can't hear you situation, where you're like, if I can just defer it, I'll figure it out eventually. And it's like you're hiding from it.
People, and even myself, I was there. People feel like, oh, I just don't have to be paying back yet. They don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. And the banks are the first one to be like, oh, sweet, you don't want to pay down the principal and I can keep raising like, they don't realize that. And I think more people need to talk about that, because it's so many happen. I mean, we know student loans are a problem, but how many people defer before they actually start paying off their loans is a horse of a completely different color.
And because so many of those loans are often subsidized by the government, you don't realize how much interest is going to be accruing. So you see like how much accrued during college. You might have an unsubsidized loan here or there, and you're like, oh, it's fine. My loans were at 7.7%.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on. The first few months of me actually really having had that come to Jesus moment of this is going to be my priority. The first 4 or 5 months, I wasn't paying any principal.
Wow.
Like I was paying the minimum plus, but it was all going to interest. Like it was like every single month. You probably saw, because back then I posted my number in every video. It was not going down, man. Like it was going down a little bit, but just like I'd pay $300 and it'd go down 20. Yes. And it was frustrating. It was craziness. And the same thing is with, and I feel really passionately about this right now, is the whole public service loan forgiveness. Mm-hmm. I'm eligible for it. I have been eligible for it. I didn't want to wait 10 years to pay off my debt, paying the minimum on it, letting that just keep accruing for me, maybe to not even get it at the end of the day. We've all seen the articles at this point. It's been 10 years since the first public student loan forgiveness program was initiated, and less than 1% of people who applied actually got their loans forgiven.
Yep.
Like, imagine how crazy that is to just carry that like a backpack for 10 years and for it not even to be gone at the end of it. I decided long ago, because I worked in a low income area. Now I'm working in education. Like that was not an option for me. I wanted to get rid of it fast, and it worked.
Never leave it up to the government.
No.
You said that the hardest part was telling yourself no. Do you still tell yourself no? Like, what do you have to tell yourself no? Like, what's the limit for you when you have to like say, all right, that's not it? Or are you such a professional budgeter and professional debt-free person that you don't have to say no to anything anymore?
Oh God, no, I still tell myself no all the time. I in my video today, I was talking about the worst purchase I made in 2018. And, occasionally even I fall for like, you're scrolling through Facebook and you see like a really crazy sale at your favorite store. And you're like, oh, that's only $11? That's awesome. That's a wonderful deal. That was originally like $70. I have to get it. And you get it in and you're like, I'm never going to wear this. This was so dumb. So no, I am by no means still a perfectionist. And I actually still very much have that money mindset of I have to convince myself to buy it. Like the default is no.
Right.
Which, I don't know. I still think it's healthy. I don't wish that I was just like, no, I'll just take everything because I can afford it now, because I have other priorities. Now, my personal spending budget isn't $10 a week anymore. It's $300 a month. But
you earned it.
Yeah, I have that, and I feel free to spend within that. Heck, I've got something sitting right here. But it's a Hummingbird Feeder. I bought it on clearance from World Market the other day. It was half off. It's super cute, but Jacob, my boyfriend, practically had to convince me. He's like, you can afford it. I'm like, it is adorable. But my default was like, no, I don't need that. But I kind of do. I mean, I don't, but like, it's nice. It'll improve my life and I can afford it. And that's why I get to have it. But I still tell myself no all the time. For instance, do you know what like a duster is? Or like you ever see how a lot of girls wear like a long kind of sweater over their clothes?
Oh, so it's like a clothing item, not like a literal.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay. No, I have no idea what that is. No idea what that is.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like a coat, but it's like a sweater, but you kind of have to wear a coat with it if it's really cold, kind of thing. So a duster would be extremely useful in my life, but they're always like $30 or $40. So I have yet to purchase one just because I don't want to pay that much.
Make a sinking fund and get to it.
I have a clothing sinking fund. I still don't want to spend that much on it. I am still a thrift queen. Now I have had to like try to redirect my spending just a little bit towards, better quality, not just selecting good things that'll really serve me well from like the sales section. I'm like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to, I will never pay 100 full price, but maybe like 80%. I usually the lower deals than that, but I'm like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to spend like 80% on something. I'll really love it. So yeah, no, not a perfect budgeter by any means. Still cheap as hell.
Okay, hey, that's fine. I'm for that. I'm with you. Something that we both also agree on is the importance of small rewards while paying off debt, which I think kind of gets into that like what we were talking about before with the backseat drivers. Like people get so intense that, especially me, like I'm baby step 2 for 3 years. if I didn't have those small rewards, I would have been burnt out by now. You know, like I think that, and when you said that, that was one of the things that, you know, one of the things to get there was those small rewards. I was so happy. I was like, okay, I'm taking small rewards. If Budget Girl says it's okay, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. And I totally get why that isn't in like the original Dave plan, because, you know, a small reward to someone might be a trip to Cabo. That's like $4,000 right after they paid off like $1,000 worth of debt. But it was integral to my success.
Right.
Every $5,000 that I paid off, so just 5 times during the extent of my payoff process, I gave myself like $50 to $100. And some people still like told me I shouldn't, because when I hit the halfway point, I went to California to visit my best friend. The total cost of the trip was $400 because I stayed with her. And we went to Universal Studios and, you know, just food and flight and stuff like that. And some people are still like, you should have put that $400 in debt. And I'm just like, no, you have to live a little. Like, that was something I lived for during, you know, that $5,000 leading up to it, the $10,000 leading up to it. I'd been saving for that trip for a year. Yeah. And it was worth it. It was 100% worth it. And obviously I'm debt free now, so it didn't like dissuade me from paying off debt. I didn't go crazy. I had $18 left at the end of that trip.
Do you think that, is it just as hard to stay like is like everyone always focuses on baby step 2, especially because that's like the crux of the matter, getting out of debt. Is baby steps 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 just like, do you need to be just as focused during those steps, or like when can you loosen the reins a little bit, or are you still like budgeting? Like, if you don't have a YouTube channel and you weren't the face of this community, would you still be budgeting every single month? Would you still be holding yourself accountable? Would you still be doing all these things? Or have you awarded yourself the freedom by getting out of debt to, like, I don't know, half-ass it a little bit? I don't know.
I didn't press pause until after 3. I told myself once I became debt-free, I'd heard so many people after they became debt-free, they kind of like went all loosey-goosey and they didn't save up their 3 to 6 month emergency fund, and they ended up going back into debt. And well, one, I know I will never go back into debt unless it's for a house. I just like, it's anathema to me. It's like my brain won't accept it, but it's just not within my frugal soul. But I decided to just kind of keep going hard. I did loosen restaurant and personal in my budget.
Okay.
And I started a travel fund. No, actually, I didn't start the travel fund till after 3. I don't think. Yeah, I gave myself like an extra. Well, at that time, I was at like $70 a month for a restaurant, and I bumped it up to $120, and I was at, I think, $150 for personal, and I doubled it, and I went to $300, and that just felt like I was the richest person on the planet. And I was still putting $800-900 a month towards my emergency fund. So within 6 months, I was done with that. And then I just started stockpiling that extra money. I didn't actually loosen anything after that, other than getting a travel fund and beefing up a couple of my sinking funds. So I think, like, keep your foot on the gas until you're through 3, because then you can really, you know that you're a little taken care of. You're very used to living on the lower amount of money. And even if you like bump certain categories up a little bit, you're still going to be doing really great things for your financial future. So now I'm putting so much money in my Roth IRA, putting so much money into investing. I'm still living within the same means.
Right.
I was lower than when I was at the end of baby step 2 and all through baby step 3. So
since you just said that, my magic word, investing, and this, I've been talking with Angela from Our Life on a Budget and Kelly about how I want to see more women talking about that side. And because, and that came up because I want to say, Marissa from The Budging Wife asked me, you know, how did it feel being a guy going through the debt-free phase? Because most of the guy YouTube channels I tend to see are the financial side. And on the flip side,
yeah.
I said, I turned it around. So on the flip side, most of the getting out of debt, you know, is all men. Like, do you ever have plans about talking about your investments, or is that something you set money aside and you leave that to professionals? Like, where do you stand on like how you invest?
Well, the reason that I haven't talked at length about it online is because investing isn't as easy as getting out of debt.
Okay.
at least. There's so much to it, and I am terrified of giving anyone bad information. So for the past year or so, I have been reading books, I've been reading articles, I've been experimenting with my own money. I've honestly been like kind of frozen in place, and people keep asking me to do some investing videos, but I am terrified of giving people bad advice because
that is such an incredible perspective. I never thought of it like that, and you're absolutely right. Like when you're telling people to get out of debt, you're really only helping them. But the investment side, there's so many. You're right. Like you could, if giving the wrong advice, you really could impact somebody in a negative way. Where telling somebody to pay off your debt and get rid of interest, you really can't hurt them too bad. So that's a great perspective.
And I love this community so much, and it would kill me to give bad advice. And I know that there are different levels of that. And, to certain points, I'm not a certified financial planner. I am not, technically, qualified to advise individual people or tell them where to invest their stuff. But in general terms, like Dave Ramsey does, I am investing in mutual funds. I am investing in stocks and bonds. I have used a lot of the different platforms, just personally testing them to see what I like, what I understand, maybe where there are holes in things that obviously, because I don't have that kind of education. I was never taught how to invest. Right. I didn't ever take a business class in college or high school or anything like that. So I'm learning it from zero, and I'm using my own mind to do it. And it will, I do now, will determine how I retire and live the rest of my life. And I'm totally going to be fine. But I just have been really scared to lead people in the wrong direction. And I don't want to start doing videos on that until I am certain that I have, I don't want to say that I'm certain I have all the knowledge, because there's no way for me to do that. But
you have to feel comfortable.
I do. And that's okay that other people are in that space and they're doing it and they're like, surpassing me. I don't care about that. I just want people that trust me to be able to continue trusting me when it comes to that kind of thing. So I apologize to anyone who's been watching and waiting for investment videos. I don't want to rush headlong into this.
That was a perfect answer, and that was like the perfect answer, and I'm so glad I asked it now, because that makes so much sense. It really does. And I've kept you 30 minutes, and I know your time is so valuable, so I'm gonna.
It's really not. Okay. First off, I am already in pajama pants.
Me too.
I am still wearing my work top. Once we get off the phone here, my boyfriend's traveling for the week. I'm gonna cook some food and watch Riverdale. So if you want to keep going, we can keep going.
I just started watching you from Aubrey from the Frugal Freaks. Whenever she recommends a show, I get addicted. So my wife's over on the couch like, when are we starting this show up again? Because we watch binge watch them now. Binge watch, so now we're going to do that. But we go to bed early anyway, so we'll probably watch 10 minutes and then just look at each other and say, you want to go to bed? But I always give people I put you on the hot seat. I always give people to ask me a question, or if you have any questions for me about anything, you could put me on the hot seat for a second, and if not, then I'll let you go.
Oh, I like this. Okay. Biggest mistake you've made in your debt-free journey so far, not including getting debt.
So,
like, you started your process of paying it off.
All right, so I'll give you the cliche answer, which is the real answer, but I'm not just saying it because she's here. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was not listening to my wife when she started telling us that we were having money problems. And I think I've said it before. I feel like there's two people that get into debt, and it's the people that, have a small shovel and they get themselves into trouble, and the people that have a larger shovel and feel like they can never get in trouble. And I was the latter to that. I always had a pretty good income. I always had a salary. I always had medical benefits. And, once I got married and I thought that I was going to have all this money because I had such a big salary, I think the biggest mistake is I'd probably be debt free now if I started listening to her when I should have, and she was saying to me like, Brad, we're bleeding money. And my answer is, There's no shot. We make so much money there. And then it got to the point where we had like no money left. And I'm like, where the freak is the money? And Tara was like, so I think that's been like...
This is why most of the channels are women, because we see it coming. We have that security gland that Dave talks about, where we're like, I don't feel secure right now. What if something happens?
Yeah, I
have to fix it.
And I think...
But I'm so glad that there are male YouTubers out there doing it too, and that are showing it from the male side.
Yeah, no, I mean that, and the other mistake I made was... Like, I regret, not so much mistake, but I regret, like, I made a couple of stupid choices right before I started the journey. Like, I invested a lot of money into retirement, like, right before.
Oh, the last hurrah.
We took out, but, like, I didn't need it. It was right before I learned. Like, we both got rid of our cars with no payments, and we got a lease and a brand new car. Like, things like that, but I don't know, I think... my only regret in this whole thing is I had the opportunity to start it sooner, and my ego and my pride held me back a little bit. But other than that, I've stayed pretty consistent, and I think, you know, with the help of the YouTube channel, with Instagram, I get a ton of positive feedback. But yeah, that's just, I think, waiting too long and not listening to my wife, you know.
Yeah, I've heard all of that, because I've heard a lot from my viewers over the years, but a lot of people who just, you know, they've got the big income. How can they possibly like end up broke? And the last hurrah thing, or not the last hurrah, but I could have started sooner. I think we all feel that. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel that too. If I'd started like right out of college, and for me, it wasn't what you said. It was fear. It was fear of like having to deal with the monster. And yeah, if I'd started 3 years sooner, I would have been done 3 years earlier. I'd be in a much better place now. But you and I are both still young. Everybody's still young. Like, we still have a chance to turn the head on this. We can still get ahead. And you're doing so great.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. That means so much coming from you. No, and then people say all the time, like, how did you get Tara on board? I'm like, she got me on board. She opened the light to me. And then unfortunately for her, I'm manic. So it went from like, Tara, I think you're right. I think we're having problems with money, to like the next day being like, here's Dave. You're going to listen to all this. I started Instagram. I started a YouTube channel. Here's what we're doing. We're paying. And she was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I just kind of want to make a budget, you know?
Go, Tara.
Yeah, no.
And you know, that you jump in with both feet like that. That was me starting the YouTube channel, was like, I'm going to jump in with both feet. This is going to be my passion, essentially, for the foreseeable future. And it's so cool. And that's one of the really cool things too. You were talking about your support from the debt-free community, is that there are so many people now that are really brilliant in so many like niches that, you know, before, if I'd had a question about investing, I would have just had to go Google it, and then like dealt with all like the affiliate links and people who are telling you to invest here for this reason that'll benefit them, etc. But now there's this whole community here. I can reach out to Joseph Hogan and be like, hey, is this guy like a shyster? Is this a bad rate for this thing? Or somebody else? There's always someone around here. You know, I'll go to Tangi or Amanda and be like, is this like, how do I do the meal prep thing? Or something like that. I know how to meal prep, but you know what I mean? Like, there are so many experts and so many little niches. Everyone has figured it out that there's the way to get out of debt right here. There's the way to live a better financial future right here at your fingertips.
Yeah, and the one thing I say over and over again, it's beautiful how we all have the same end goal, but we all have such amazingly different paths to get there. And I think that's one of the things that's why us as YouTube creators, that's why we have our own personalities, because a lot of, for us, I think people watching, because they get that motivation tips, but they also get to follow the different weird, quirky paths and journeys that we all have to get to that. And then at the end of the day, we're all standing with the same flag, you know, debt free. But it's like, where did you come from? Where did you come from? But I guess that's so is life, right? We all get to death with a different journey, right? But
yeah, I never would have anticipated that people would have followed me from Louisiana to Arkansas to Texas to wherever I'm going next. But they seem to want to keep watching. I had people be like, why didn't you do Christmas vlogs this year? I was like, I was just kind of, you know, enjoying myself. I didn't want to vlog everything now, but I'm like, but I want to share everything. But at the same time, I feel now like I've kind of built a life. I want to enjoy it too, and not always having to document it all. So there's a line I'm currently working on.
Well, I look forward to everything else you're going to be doing. I am one of your 40,000 plus. And
thank you.
When you're a million, I'll still be part of that 40 million plus. But I appreciate it. Like I said, I get excited about these Tuesday talks for emotional, selfish reasons, unmotivated by subscribers and view counts, because I learned very quickly that everybody here is rooting for each other if you talk to the right people, and that we're all supportive. And at the end of the day, we're just people with different subscriber counts, but we're all here to help each other. So
we're just people. I started earlier than you. You'd probably have more subscribers than I do now if you'd started at the same time I did.
And it doesn't really matter, because you impact, I impact, we're all doing good things. So thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me tonight. And I almost can't wait to get this video out. I just want to press. I'm just going to edit, submit, and get it out right away. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. I can't thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime. I'm serious.
Thanks for watching, guys. Here's the playlist of all of my Tuesday talks, some amazing YouTube creators. I've been so fortunate to sit down and talk with them and just learn and just be motivated by their success and where we're all trying to get to, and that's debt free. Until I see you on the next one, guys, have yourselves a great day.